Hello and welcome back to Mountain Patriot Homestead. You can hear my coffee pot going in the background there. Hopefully it's not louder than I am. But today we're going to be talking about another dessert. Leading up to the holidays, we have talked about an easy to make pie. We've talked about fudge. We've covered cookies. And today we're going to be talking about a cake that's different, but yet I think you will find it company worthy as well as good for those midnight snacks. So let's pull all this together and get baking. All right, the ingredients that you need for this are not difficult. It's one boxed cake mix, and I am using one that's a little bit different. It is a Cinnamon Toast Crunch cake mix. What I'm going to do is it's kind of got a separate little packet in there of like the cinnamon toast cereal that you could sprinkle on top if you just made this as a cake for kids, or you could put it in your frosting, but I'm not going to use that. I will take that out and just going to be using the cake mix. But you could use this, or you could use the original recipe calls for a yellow cake mix. But today I'm going to be using this because I think the cinnamon flavor is going to complement the other ingredients perfectly. And the other ingredients, first of all, I have got a jar of mincemeat. Now, if you are unfamiliar with what mincemeat is, this mincemeat, it's apples, raisins, it's got some orange zest in it, it's got some suet, it's got spices, you know, the cinnamons and cloves, you know, all the things that we associate with the holidays are all in this one jar. That's my oven that's preheating to 350 degrees. So it helped me not forget that part. You want your oven preheated to 350 degrees for this. But the mincemeat, people shy away from it because it's not used that much in our country anymore, but it used to be a very popular staple because it was easy to keep and to preserve, and so it was used in a lot of other recipes. It can still be used in pies, cakes, cookies. I mean, it's a wonderful addition to a lot of your baked goods. It's just for whatever reason we don't use that. But anyway, I'm going to be using a cup and a half of mincemeat. I'm sorry, not a cup and a half. Cup and a half of cake mix. I'll be using a half of jar of this because this is a 27-ounce jar and I need about 14 ounces. So I'll be using about half of this jar. Thankfully, it's got the little measurements here on the side. And I'll be using about half of that. I'll be using a half a cup. Since I have pecan bits, that's what I'll be using is pecans. The original recipe called for walnuts. You use whatever your favorite nut is. I'll be using pecans. And then it calls for butter. So that's as simple as it is. It's cake mix, it's mincemeat, some type of nuts, and butter. That's all. So I'm going to start off with the baking pan I'm going to be using. It's just my enameled pan, and I am going to spray the inside of this. I could butter it, I could grease it up with shortening, use lard, whatever that I want to use to keep it from sticking. But I'm just gonna hit it here with some of this butter spray just to keep it from sticking in my pan. And that's it. You use whatever you normally use, whether you use butter or shortening or whatever, you go for it and you use whatever you prefer in your kitchen. All right. I could have had all this stuff opened up, but I did not. So, you know, it's just like having friends over to your house. And I'm going to leave that other in there because I don't need those. I don't need sprinkles on the top, but I do need to be able to open this, but I don't need cereal on top of our stuff here, so. All right. Now, this calls for a cup and a half of cake mix. That was pretty easy to open. It calls for a half a jar of this. And I'm going to put this in the pan first. Your mincemeat goes into the pan first. And use half a jar if you're using a big jar like I am. Otherwise, use 14 ounces. If you find a smaller jar, use 14 ounces. And you're just going to put that right, you know what? Because I'm using such a big pan, I'm gonna make this a bigger recipe. How about that? You know, that's what makes it wonderful about cooking in your kitchen. You know, when I was growing up and we had homemaking in school and you know, the homemaking teacher, bless her heart, you know, she was dealing with a bunch of rambunctious youngins and she was trying to teach them the proper way and telling them to do things a certain way and you know, that the rules were this and it had to be exactly this and you know, she was just, like I said, dealing with a bunch of rambunctious kids. You know, things had to be done an exact way, because if not, you know, we'd have been out of control and everything would have been a mess. But you know, once you get grown, you know, and you can make stuff your own, you know, it's your kitchen, your rules, and you can experiment, and if you mess it up, you know, your kitchen. So what I'm gonna see, you know, this called for a cup and a half, but since I used that whole jar, I'm just gonna see how much is in this cake mix. Now that was 1 cup. And that was 2. And I bet this is just about pretty near gonna make 3 cups. So I am, oh yeah, that's, I'm not wasting that. So I'm just gonna put that right in there. Make a mess. You see me making a mess, right? I'm telling you, I cannot cook without making a mess, but, you know, I'm the one that has to clean it up, so I don't guess it matters. Now, this is considered a dump cake, and most dump cakes, they tell you do not stir. You just put stuff in there in the order that it's supposed to go in, following the directions, and you are not supposed to stir. But this is an exception. This cake actually tells you to stir this until there is no flour or cake mix still visible. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna stir this. I don't know if any of you have ever made some of those, you know, where it does the layers and then they do the cake mix, and then on top of that they put the butter, and then it may be a fruit base on some of them and all of that, and then the top they put the cake mix, and then they put chunks of butter and stuff, and it's supposed to all absorb together. I don't know about y'all, but I hadn't had a whole lot of luck with that. I usually end up, you know, having clods of like uncooked cake mix on top, and I don't like that. I don't want a powdery dessert. If I eat a powdery dessert, I want it to be a powdered donut. But so this takes a little bit of stirring, but it is stirring in there, and it's smelling good. The spices coming off of this, it's almost like a holiday potpourri smell, because it's got all of those wonderful spice smells. And I could probably be a whole lot neater at this. And you could probably do this and then put it in your baking pan, and it wouldn't make such a big mess up on the side of your pan. But then I don't know, could you really call it a dump cake? You know, it's either mess up 2 bowls and have a pretty cooking pan, or use 1 bowl and kind of have a messy looking one. But, you know, again, your kitchen, your rules. And mine's going to look a little messy on the sides. I guess I could go in there and wipe it and make it look a little better. I might do that. Just Just so, since you're watching me, are you gonna tattle on me if it's not pretty? All right, I have got that stirred up and spread around. Let me go wash my hands. I'll be right back. All right, I am back, and I am just going to this is not going to be perfect, but I'm going to kind of wipe down a little bit of the mess that I made while I was stirring this in the pan. Like I said, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to look a little better than it did. So, all right. Now, I'll show you what it looks like so far. That's what it looks like. All that is it is the mincemeat and the cake mix mixed up together. Now, the next thing it says to do is sprinkle pecans in there. Either I've become the weakest person on the planet, or they're making things anymore that's like ironclad. And this said half a cup, but I'm just going to sprinkle till I'm happy with what it looks like. All right. Y'all cook like that? Just throw it on in there. All right. And that's what it looks like with all that. Now, I'm supposed to come in here, and it says put a 1/4 cup of butter, and you're just going to kind of cut it up. Pardon me, I'm going to use fingers. I have washed my hands several times, so I'm just going to come in here, and again, I'm going to put butter till I'm happy with it. This butter is softened, so it's not hard to deal with. I don't know if what do y'all do with your butter? Do you have a stick of butter that you leave out to use, or do you keep your butter in the refrigerator all the time? I actually have a stick of butter that I leave out to keep it softened, because we go through butter so fast it's not going to ruin. And because, if I make toast, I don't want it tearing up my bread while I'm smearing it around on the bread. But this is just going to go right on here. Okay, well, I got 2 pieces at one time. How'd that work out? Pretty good. All right, I have got that laid out there. Wipe my fingers off again somewhere on part of that clean stuff. Just get it sticky because that was sticky. All right, now I have got that all laid out there. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in that 350-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes until it's set. Now, you'll have to judge with your own ovens, because even the recipes that I go by, sometimes it'll say cook something for 30 minutes, and I may have to cook it longer or not as long, because it depends on each individual oven how fast things cook. But I'm going to try this for 25 minutes. I'll check on it. If it's not set enough, I'll put it back in for another 5 minutes, and we'll see where we are then. So come right back and let's see how this turns out. I have taken this out of the oven. I ended up having to put it in for 30 minutes, but you can see it is absolutely beautiful. And here, as it cools, we will try some, but it does say to let it cool before you serve it. So unfortunately, I've got to wait a little while longer, and then I will get a spoonful of this to see how it turned out. Well, I held out as long as I could, and I have spooned me out some of this Christmas dump cake is what I'm going to call it, because, mincemeat might throw some people off, but I'm telling you, the aroma coming off of this, I think using that cinnamon cake mix was the perfect choice, because if it tastes anything like it smells, it's going to be delicious. So here we go. I am going to try this. Now I want to tell you, the edges of that cake, it's cake on the edges. The inside of it is more, it's more like one of those, what are they called, ooey gooey butter cakes or whatever. It's almost like a lava cake toward the middle. It's more soft and not set quite as much, but I mean, it just leaves it a wonderful, wonderful consistency there. And you have the combination of both. If you wanted to put whipped cream, if you wanted to put ice cream on top of this, if you wanted to put some kind of glaze, you could. But I'm telling you, just the aroma coming off this is making my mouth water. So let me taste this. Okay. What you get, such a burst of spice flavor from this, because you are getting the, like I said previously when I first started making this, you know, the mincemeat has all of those wonderful holiday spices, and then, I'm sorry, my mouth is just watering, has all those wonderful spices. That cinnamon cake mix, like I said, I really think that was a good choice. If you don't like that much spice, you could always use that yellow cake mix, but if you can find a spice cake mix, would work just as well, and you know, would just increase that spice flavor. But that mincemeat and that cinnamon cake mix combined in there, you get that butter flavor from the top. You're getting the nuttiness, of course, from the pecans. But everything combined is just, even though you could put whipped cream or ice cream on top of this, I don't think I would, because I love all of those spice flavors to start with, and this just really combines to make a wonderful flavor. I always hesitate using names like dump cakes, because it seems to diminish the, I don't know, the attractiveness, I guess, or I'm not sure what word I'm trying to find right now. I'm going blank. But, you know, if guests were coming over, would you want to tell them, I'm serving you a dump cake? But I'm telling you, this is a wonderful cake. I would not hesitate to serve it to any guest. If you can think of some fancy name that you would put on this, you know, throw it down in the comments below. Let me know, you know, what kind of fancy name could we put on this. But if you have been afraid to try mincemeat in the past as a ingredient for things, please don't hesitate to use it in this. Try it in this, and then move on to maybe mincemeat pie. How, you know, a lot of traditional recipes are mincemeat pie, or even mincemeat cookies. But I'm telling you, if you want to give a really easy mincemeat dessert a try, and I think you could give it, I think your kids would love this. So try this. Let me know down in the comments below if you do and what you think about it. And I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Hope all of your wishes are coming true. I love each and every one of you. Have a good evening. Mountain Patriot Homestead, signing out.